Uh, okay, why is Link flexing? Like, how do you even get him to do that? Well, turns out you do nothing. Link will strike this ridiculous pose all by himself without any player input. This is a particularly absurd example of an idle animation. And if I'm ever going to release my own video game someday, I'm going to need to learn how to make these myself. So you may have clicked on this video wondering what is the big idea with idle animations, what an oddly specific thing to talk about. And you'd be right. Originally, I was gonna make a video about building my first top-down RPG movement system, but any game movement system also needs to handle the scenario where there's no movement at all, which brings me to idle animations. Idle animations are critical, even though you probably don't think about them much. I've spoke about this idea of immersion in a few, if not all, of my past YouTube videos. To feel immersed, though, you need to feel convinced. You have to suspend your disbelief and buy into the character. And idle animations really help deliver a convincing performance for a video game character. Now, if I were to break it down, I'd say there are a few different types of idle animations. I'll go with three overarching categories. And I'll call the first group basic human functions. It was actually really difficult for me to find an example of a game without idle animations, but here you go. Super Mario Brothers on the SNES. Yeah, this is not a screenshot. The game is running. You can look at the timer. This is an old game, so my argument is slightly flawed here, but still, I mean, look, does Mario feel alive to you? No, he looks frozen. He looks like the Tanuki Mario, you know? Now look at this clip from Blasphemous. The penitent one is breathing deeply. He's been adventuring. He does this weird, creepy blood cry thing and then sort of relaxes a bit. And I mean, he's, for the most part, behaving like a living being would. People breathe, people adjust themselves, and people cried blood, apparently. Such a small detail, but imagine if he just stood there statically like Mario did. That would not fly. Any convincing actor in a game needs this sort of basic idle movement that any living being might exhibit. Otherwise, it just looks lifeless. It's boring. All right, so yeah, again, these sorts of small fidgets, little adjustments that you might not even think of that you yourself are doing, maybe even right now, these are what I'm calling the basic human functions. Now, I don't have any 3D modeling experience at all, but lately I have been sort of getting into pixel art. I mean, you can see how that all started in my last video. But so that's, I think, the medium I'm going to try to use for my own idle animations. And I'm lazy, so instead of designing my own character, I'm going to use everyone's favorite hero, Link. For the reference, Breath of the Wild's Link should serve us well. He has a nice variety of high-quality idle animations. And for a character, let's see what I cooked up here. All right, that's complete shit. And for a character, I grabbed a separate reference to help dial in my style a bit. I've always liked the look of Octopath Traveler sprites, so I went for something like that. The important thing here is the sprite should have a predefined skeleton. This should make the animation part a lot easier. All right, and this is what I came up with. Okay, this is not bad. I don't think it's as Octopathy as I wanted, but I think it will serve our purposes for this video. So let's keep going. So I should confess to you that I actually do not know how to animate at all. I am not an animator. I have no experience animating, so we're just gonna learn it on the job. I watched some tutorials, of course, and animating an aseprite is not that bad. Like, I think most of you guys could pick it up. There's a lot of nice tooling built up, resulting in a relatively frictionless 2D animation experience. Despite that, my first attempt was complete dog shit. I mean, look, he's pretty much just like growing an inch and shrinking an inch. Again, like I said about a convincing performance, well, this ain't it. I think we can do better. And it's really not going to be that bad. We just have to add some tweaks here and there. Something I learned on YouTube is that it really makes a huge difference when you respect the inertia of, for example, Link's utility belt or his little hair loopies. So now look, this is the same up-down animation, but we kind of have these elements lag behind by a frame, and this is much more pleasing. This is over-exaggerated, but it brings a sense of realism and fun that I think we were definitely lacking. And as a side note, man, I gotta say, it honestly felt amazing to build a character of my own, a static character, and then like breathe life into it and watch it like move and have some sort of personality. Yeah, it was like a magical experience, really. Like everyone should try it. It's weird watching something you made come to life. But anyways, the next grouping of animations that I want to talk about is what I'm calling environmental. This is a pretty broad category, and a lot of games do this, but basically the idea is a normal idle breath cycle may change to something else if the character is cold or low on health or close to another enemy or something like that. This involves the character reacting by itself to some other stimuli around it. So take a look. Here in Soak Song, this is Hornet's normal breath cycle. But if she's low on health, instead we get this. It's subtle but effective. These animations are great because instead of you reacting to whatever situation you find yourself in a given game and then moving the character accordingly, the character is reacting to a situation that you put the character in and it's moving accordingly. Does that make sense? Like we're flipping the formula a little bit on its head, and that's super fun to me. It adds like a new dimension. Okay, so let's bring it back to our Link. In Breath of the Wild, Link nods off if you keep him awake during the night cycle, like this. So let's recreate that. It was a bit tricky to convey the head's slouched posture and honestly the entire head position accurately, but with some shading near the abdomen and just bumping this head section down a pixel, I think it came out pretty well. I added this sort of staggered blink as well to make it look like he's fighting against his exhaustion before succumbing to slumber. Finally, I made the breathing less exaggerated than my earlier animation by rounding off the shoulders and doing away with those inertia-related tweaks that I mentioned earlier. And yeah, not too much to note here. I think this one turned out really well. I'm happy with it. I think I'm a professional animator. I think I did it. The final group I would like to discuss is what I will call Easter egg idols. So these are the ones that I feel like you probably heard of. Like game developers will often sort of lock or hide a specific idle animation behind a really long idle timer or a really specific set of criteria. But when you see him, it's like, whoa, what the heck is this guy doing? This is really cool or funny or whatever. It's kind of like an Easter egg. So a pretty famous example, in Sonic CD, if you wait for over 3 minutes, he eventually says, "I'm out of here," and jumps off the stage, triggering a game over in what can only be described as a shocking attempt. We can't say that. Okay. In Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, Snake will sneeze loud enough to actually alert nearby enemies. And in Crash Bandicoot's Insane Trilogy, he'll just do an endless amount of random shit for no reason. So those are fun. And you guessed it, Breath of the Wild has some of these too. If you force Link to stand half naked for long enough, you sick fuck, he'll strike a laughable bodybuilding pose, ridiculous for such a scrawny little pipsqueak. So yeah, I like this one. Let's go after that. By this point, I had a good handle on the mechanics of basic aseprite animations, so I was excited to try something a little more expressive. The more challenging part here was covering so much ground with the way Link's arms wave above his head. Adding this little squat at the end as he settles into his pose, I think helps sell it. So there we have it, 3 idle animations. That was pretty fun, and I learned a lot. I hope you guys learned something too. And then, yeah, let me know which one was your favorite. I think for me, I liked the sleeping one. It was super simple, but I think it was the most professionally done, I would say. And thank you guys for subscribing. I think I got like 50 subs for my last video, and the fact that it's like over 50 people who are tuning in to watch me talk for 10 minutes is like, it's ridiculous. It's awesome. I really appreciate it. So that's all I have for today, but I hope to see you guys really soon.